Fox News, 1 year after Biden's unprecedented exit from 2024 race, Democrat poll numbers hit rock bottom. That's it, man. I don't know where how the Democrats come back from this. You know, we were talking about South Park earlier, and it seems like they're going to try and be anti-woke edgy and mocking Trump, and they want to belittle Trump. They're trying to win back the podcast comedian circuit. They're trying to win back the Joe Rogan types. That's why they went for South Park. But I don't think Democrats can recover this unless they abandon gender ideology and critical race theory, which I don't think they can.
The more progressives have been trying to double down on that kind of stuff. I heard Ayanna Pressley talking about DEI and how DEI was extremely important. This is just today. I heard a clip of her talking about DEI and how it's super important, and that without DEI, we won't make any quote unquote progress and stuff. The progressives are going to double down on it. The smart Democrats like Fetterman, like Josh Shapiro, they seem to be moving away from this stuff.
Like Buttigieg, dare I say, not his biggest fan, but he can read a room a lot better than these Democrats can.
Yeah, and I don't think that Buttigieg has much of a chance, but it is a good point to point at him about this stuff. The smarter Democrats are moving away from this stuff because it's not popular with the American people overall. Again, this is something that's a small group of people are very passionate about it, but the rest of America is like, man, I don't even care. Like, I'm worried about, and I've said this a bunch of times, I'm worried about kitchen table issues.
Sure.
Is the economy good? Can I pay my bills?
Can I get a mortgage? Can I buy a new home?
After all the inflation that we've had, wages still have not caught up, and people seem to not understand that wages are a lagger and inflation is a leader. That's part of why there was such a massive wealth transfer. That's part of why there's such income inequality that people talk about. People that have money can get loans when there's 0% interest rates or 1% interest rates. Those people have businesses. The people that don't have money, the people that have that took the Biden bucks or the money that Donald Trump handed out, they take that money and they spend that money. Who are they buying things from? The people that have money. This is not super complex, but it takes a while for wages to catch up.
Exactly. Dude, for the same reason, it's the same reason why a lot of regulation, a huge corporation can easily absorb the costs of new regulation, and they use regulation and granting new regulation in the government in order to squeeze and destroy small businesses and medium-sized businesses, because they can't absorb just massive cost increases or regulatory increases, et cetera. They can't stomach that. They can't handle it. They'll just go kaput. And it happens all the time. Happened in 2022. If you didn't see it happening in your own towns, you're lying to yourself. Like, it happened all the time. Happened in LA. I saw it happen personally, but. Yeah, you're exactly right on.
And Serge, one of those regulations that's popular even amongst Republicans is what's called occupational licensing. I got my hair cut a couple weekends ago.
Crazy.
It's insane. 1,800 hours to become a barber. Insane. That benefits the supercuts and the hair cutteries of the world. Regulation is always the friend of big corporations. It is always the enemy of small businesses and entrepreneurs. Louisiana, Tim, it wasn't just until 2 years ago that in Louisiana, you needed a license to pay a fee and to pass a test to be a florist, to assemble the daisies and the tulips. But again, that was the big floral lobby.
But I mean, think about how hard it is. If you were just your run-of-the-mill old, biologist or scientist trying to take viruses from one animal and then contaminate other animals to force the virus to become more potent. You can't even do that in the United States.
You can't even do that.
You have to go to Wuhan, China to do something like that.
Correct.
Ugh, can you believe this?
And then when you do it, blame it on the bat soup, because that's definitely not racist.
Right. Yes.
But it's racist to say it came from a lab. And to come full circle, arrest Fauci. Arrest him. What are we waiting for?
Well, we were talking about regulation, and I made a joke, but now we're on Fauci.
Agree.
But anyway, to regulation, I think a lot of people don't realize how insane regulation really is.
Yeah.
And how some of it's good. I'd say most of it's bad.
Most of it's bad.
It is psychotic how insane regulations are.
Well, which examples would you say are good?
Like you can't put like lead in people's water.
Yeah. You know I bet they do that anyway.
Some places do. There's pretty simple ones that we think some are good. We think some are bad. Like liberals don't like the regulation of marijuana. So if you're a business and you're going to be serving food to people and they say the content of rat feces in the food must be below a certain number, I'm actually okay with that.
Yeah.
But when they say, in order to get certified to clear your restaurant of rat feces, you first have to go, we're only open once a month.
Correct.
You can come down with your paperwork. Unfortunately, if you make any mistake, you'll have to come back next month.
Yep.
And then once you come in, we'll submit your files to the Rat Feces Assessment Bureau, who will then give them a few months to go through this. They'll get back to you. And then once you have that paperwork, you can then go to City Hall and file for your tax permit to get your certification, because it has to go through the tax office to get the final certification. And then once you have that, you can apply for the display permitting, which is required to open your business, which takes another 6 months. Thank you and have a nice day. Closed.
Right.
Worst part is that person also is earning a salary, and they're also getting all these benefits, and they're going to have a what's the word for like a stipend at the end of the year or at the end of their service. I forget what that's called.
Apprentice.
Basically, the issue we had with the building for our coffee shop was it's a historic building. So any changes has to go through the Historic Society, which meets once a month.
Interesting.
And we were like, okay, well, that shouldn't matter because we don't have much to change, right? Well, unfortunately, the fire escape door that you have connects to it connects into a back portion of the building with stairs, which now means that it's a single floor as far as occupancy goes.
Oh.
And that means you need access for the handicap to get to the second and third floors. And so we said, okay, we'll just close that door off and do a new door. Okay, well, then you have to go to the historic department to alter the building to that degree. So we said, well, then we will, because we don't want anyone going to the second floor. And they said, okay. And then, unfortunately, the Historic Society said, first month, we're going to have to take a look at this and figure it out. The next month, the dude who was supposed to be here to work with us on this isn't here. Next month. And it went on and on and on until we said, okay, can we just use the elevator in the building to qualify for the handicap requirements? And they said, well, actually, the elevator is a historic elevator. And it's not up to code because it's from 1908. And if you want to get it up to code, you got to go through the Historical Society. And so we said, okay. And then after basically like 2 years of all of this, we just sold the building.
Yeah.
Bye.
Think about the employees you could have employed there, wages they could have earned, the money they would have spent in their local community.
Right. And the locals told us it was all the same thing. The people who are there and who have businesses, worked full-time for years to get final approval. Martinsburg is now saying we're going to relax a lot of this, probably because I've been complaining about it and people are mad at me. But we are still partnering on the shop, so we don't own it anymore, but there will be a shop. So
that's awesome.
That's exciting.
What are you going to call it?
Casper Coffee.
Cool.
Yeah, it's our coffee company.
Awesome.
We have a bunch on the way. I can't speak too much, but this stuff takes forever. If you want to start a franchise company, it's like a year of federal regulation before you're allowed to do anything. It's psychotic. I don't think it's an accident. I think the U.S. government intentionally uses regulation to stifle business on purpose.
Agreed.
I think that the government's attitude is we don't want too much growth, and I'd imagine the argument is if we grow too rapidly, we can create a period of instability where if we can't sustain that growth, we can retract too rapidly. So let's sludge everything up so we can make sure it only grows a little bit over time. I think they do it I think they won't tell you this. They'll constantly talk about how they want to hit good numbers, but they want to slog up the system intentionally.
Yeah.
Well, they want growth, but they don't want high volatility growth. They don't want GDP of 10%, then GDP of -9%,
That's
then
the point.
GDP of 20%. Then
so they want to control it.
Correct.
Yeah. Federal Reserve, they want to control the flow of money. They want to control population. So, what happens to any species when they reach the maximum point of resource distribution? They become sickly and starve. So if you take a look at the deer population in our area, last year, the deer were all starving because people weren't hunting them.
Okay.
You ended up with this massive deer population. They ate all the food.
Right.
And then although they had this massive population, they were all sickly and starving. So the idea is if humanity grows to the point where we strain all of our resources, we reach parity with resource, we all become angry, sickly, and starving because there's enough to get to that population. So powers that be in the U.S. government are like, no. We should always make sure growth can't exceed a certain amount of excess. So they will restrict you intentionally, and I believe they use regulations for that on purpose.
Yep,
they definitely do it because businesses want them to do it too, because they want to get rid of their competition. I was going to say, when I got my hair cut in college, I got my hair cut from a roommate who lived down the hall, and he charged $8. The barber shop charged $60 that was down the street. And so, of course, you want to create a regulation that says that guy is going to charge $8, has to go through 1,800 hours of barber training and all sorts of nonsense.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.